introduce himself. I'm going to go ahead and start with Vice Mayor Mark Nogales.
Thank you, Ashley. Mark Nogales, he, him, a proud graduate of South San Francisco High School, graduate of San Francisco State. With me, I have a special guest, Josephine. Say hi. We're here just to support and be proud of the first meeting of this youth commission. It's very historic, and I just wanted to say a great job to everyone here. And I look forward to working with all of you in the future. So I just wanted to say congratulations and thank you again.
Council Member James Coleman.
Hi, my name's James. I'm take the he, him, his series, and I'm also a graduate of South San Francisco High School. Go Warriors! I recently graduated college in May, and I'm also unemployed at the moment. But I'm 22 years old, so if not on the council, I could be in the commission, and it's really nice to see you all meeting here today. Because the youth voices are so important, and many of the issues that we're facing today, from housing to climate change and childcare, is so important to the youth, and whether or not they'll be able to continue living in South City, can afford to live here, and also go to their families, which I'm sure that many of you, along with myself, would love to do. So it's nice to be here, and I'm looking forward to the many great meetings that we all have together.
Thank you, James. And we also have our city manager, Mike Futrell, here.
Thank you, Ashley. Mike Futrell, city manager, he, him. And thank you for agreeing to serve. Let me echo the comments from the council members, Nogales and Coleman. What you're doing is very important, and your voice needs to be heard. The role of staff, myself, I see Assistant City Manager Sharon Reynolds and others on the call. Our role is to make you effective and to make sure that voice gets heard as much as we can. So we are here to support you, to lift you up, to answer questions, to guide you as you desire. But you are an independent board appointed by the city council, and we are happy to partner with you and support you in any way possible. So again, congratulations and thank you for taking this on.
I know everyone knows Sharon, but Sharon, if you'd like to say.
Hi, everybody. I think I do know all of you. Sharon Reynolds here on the ACM, and I'm just really excited and enthusiastic. And as I was saying earlier, I feel like it's a historic meeting to be able to say I was at the first Youth Commission meeting. So congratulations to all you guys, and anything you need, just let me know, because we are, as Mike said, here to support you. I also wanted to mention we have Pat Murray here from the school board, actually, if you want to introduce her too.
Yeah, Pat, we would love to hear from you.
Hi, my name is Pat Murray. I'm sorry I'm not on video, but I'm in my car. I'm actually driving. I stopped though to talk. I have a she, her pronouns, and I'm just here to support the first Youth Commission meeting and all of our students and the students from the city. And I'd love to hear your voice. Thank you.
And I think our last staff member is Claire.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Claire Lai. I am an assistant city attorney with the city. I will be doing a Brown Act training for the commissioners in a short bit. And so thank you all so much.
Thank you, Claire. I will go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, which is the agenda review. Has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda, and are there any changes or comments to the current agenda? If not, we will move on to the next item. Next item on the agenda is public comments. You are welcome to enter it into the chat or raise your hand. Okay. I do not believe that we have any public comments, and we did not receive any prior to the meeting. So next on the agenda would be the Brown Act training by the Assistant City Attorney, Claire. And Claire, I will go ahead and give you screen share abilities. Okay, Claire, you should be able to share your screen.
Great. Um, let me choose. Okay, I hope that everyone can see my screen correctly. Okay, great. So good evening, commissioners and everyone who's in attendance. My name is Claire Lai, and I'm an assistant city attorney of the city of South San Francisco. I'm also with the law firm Myers Nave of the city contracts with our firm to serve as the role of city attorney. And so you'll see our name pop up here and there. My apologies, I'm going through the slides. Okay, great. So tonight, as your first very historical meeting, I'm so happy to be here and so honored to kind of make this introduction to you about Government 101. I'm going to provide a brief training on the Brown Act, which is the California open meeting and governing laws that require government entity meetings to be open and transparent. And this law applies to basically all legislative bodies, from the city council to the commissions created by the city council, and all the committees, and that includes the youth commission. And so we're going to go over some key elements of law, and also talk about what is a meeting, what is required to be on the agenda, and also the component of public participation. And so the principal idea of the Brown Act is that all meetings of the legislative body of a local agency has to be open and public. And all persons from the public who are interested has to have an opportunity to attend these meetings and also to participate in the meetings. And so the default rule is that all the commission meetings have to be open and public unless there is an exception that's permitted. And the Brown Act applies, like I was saying, to all the committees, the commissions, advisory bodies that are created by the action of the city council, and that have a continuing subject matter jurisdiction with a fixed meeting schedule. And what that really means is that if the commission or the body that's meeting has been authorized by the council to exist, and that they have a continuing kind of central goal to meet, and they have jurisdiction over certain matters in the city, and they're regularly meeting, have a fixed schedule, then they're subject to the Brown Act. And so the first component of a meeting of the Brown Act is what constitutes a meeting, and when does it require the meeting to be open in public. So a meeting under the law is a congregation of a majority of commissioners at the same time and place to discuss or act on city business. And you may kind of think, a meeting is when the commissioners are meeting formally, such as over Zoom, or like in a meeting room at City Hall, but it's also whenever the commissioners congregate. So whenever there's a quorum of you that congregate to meet and discuss city business, that would constitute a meeting as defined by the Brown Act. And so there are some exceptions to the Brown Act, and I've listed them here. And the principal idea behind them is that there are going to be times when the commissioners are meeting, when legislative body members are meeting in private or other events, at conferences, community meetings, and the law provides certain exceptions to allow those things to happen. For example, an example of a city council member could meet individually with members of the public, and that does not constitute a meeting under the law. If one of you were to meet with other members of the public, that's also permitted. Commissioners and council members and other public officials can also meet together at conferences, provided those are also open, such as, and also another example is community meetings. If the meeting is open to the public, it allows participation, then the legislative body members can meet there. And so the idea behind this, again, is that, you know, the members can meet there, but they cannot discuss or make decisions on city business. And the idea really is to make sure that all the decisions are made in a meeting setting where the public has notice and it's transparent. So it's not, you know, a bunch of legislative body members gathering in secret meeting. And another example of a meeting where it's not very intuitive is that if there's a series of conversations between commissioners that ultimately results in kind of a communication of everybody's kind of intent, ideas, that would constitute a serial meeting. So the idea is that a majority of the commission cannot discuss or take action or deliberate by any kind of intermediaries, by technology. For example, maybe a staff person will talk to each one of you and kind of communicate between all of you the ideas that each commissioner has and pass ideas back and forth. We also want to be careful so that does not constitute a serial meeting between a majority of the commissioners. Another example down here is a daisy chain example where Commissioner A may talk to Commissioner B and talk to Commissioner C and so on and so forth until either there's a majority of you who have communicated in this way, or everybody has, you know, kind of learned of the other person's position through this conversation. And another common way for serial meetings to happen is through social media or emails and texts. And it's very easy. I always say that when there's a reply all situation, that could easily constitute a serial meeting because one commissioner may forward an email to a number of other commissioners. And in the course of replying everybody, they might communicate a position or make a decision on an issue or come to an agreement on something. And so that in itself would constitute a meeting, even though, you know, they're not all present at the same place or at the same time. And the law recognizes that, and it was recently amended to cover social media situations. And this covers, you know, the typical platforms where the public can participate, can use the platform. And if, let's say, a commissioner posts an article, the other commissioners are not permitted to react to the article, such as responding by emoji, pressing like, and that kind of thing. So the law recognizes these types of situations and tries to target it and address it in this way. And next, we're going to talk a little bit about agendas. The Brown Act also has requirements about what can be discussed at a meeting. And the basic idea is that the public can talk about anything pretty much at a meeting, but the body that's meeting cannot. So the legislative body, such as the Youth Commission, can only discuss and act on items on a posted agenda. And there are requirements about how much in advance the agenda has to be posted. So for regular meetings, the agenda has to be posted 72 hours before the meeting. Special meetings require only a 24 hours notice. And there are some exceptions for emergency meetings or very urgent situations where that has to happen. And I have just an example to show you kind of what it means to be talking about things or discussing things that are on the agenda. So let's say during a commission meeting, a public speaker requested that commission sign a letter she prepared to the state legislature supporting net neutrality. This item is not on the agenda, but the commission considered it a great suggestion and voted to sign the letter. Is this a Brown Act violation? The answer would be yes, because the commission has taken action on an item that was not noticed. It was not on the agenda. The item is not agendized. It cannot be discussed or acted upon. And also, there's a different issue here where it's likely that this scope of the request is outside of the commission's scope of duties, because it probably does not qualify as one of the purpose stated by the council, but therefore does not qualify to be on the agenda. Any discussions must be limited to the scope of duties that the commission carries. And I kind of want to take this opportunity to highlight, you might observe how different advisory commissions of the city function in some different ways. Some commissions, like the Planning Commission, for example, is the one example of an advisory body that actually does make decisions. It adopts resolutions that make some recommendations to the council, but also it makes decisions on permits, development, approvals, and urban, planning decisions that are actually final in sometimes some instances. And so other advisory bodies, they may not adopt resolutions. They may merely make recommendations to the city council. They don't take really much decision-making role, except in the instance, where maybe there is a state law that requires them to do it, or maybe there's a contract the city is trying to enter into that requires an advisory body to kind of take the action and recognize the contract, or approve the contract, or take some action to kind of make it legally significant. And so that's the kind of the different roles I wanted to highlight for you. As you continue to meet, you might observe, how does the Youth Commission play a role in making recommendations to the City Council? And finally, I wanted to talk about public participation a little bit. The Brown Act requires that at all regular meetings before or during consideration of an item, that the public be provided an opportunity to talk about things that are within the kind of the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. So that is really, anything that the public wants to bring up. There's a spot reserved for them on the agenda, as you just saw, that they can come and make comments to the commission. And this is the same as city council meetings, planning commission meetings. There is just a time reserved for that. For special meetings, the public is allowed only to address topics that are on the agenda. And so, but otherwise, the public can pretty much talk about anything. The commission cannot, and they can only act on and discuss items that have been agendized, even though the public can bring up, pretty much anything, any concerns that they have. The commission can impose reasonable time limits and other kind of management measures. So there's a 3-minute, for example, a 3-minute time limit on public speakers. There's a lot of people, that could be 2 minutes. We cannot require people to fill out speaker cards. If speakers wanted to remain anonymous, they have the option to do so. And also very important, the city commissions cannot limit negative comments. So the public has the ability, the right to speak at meetings, and generally, if they make negative comments, they cannot be prohibited unless they're actually disrupting the meeting. And so finally, violations of the Brown Act have pretty serious consequences. If there's a decision being made by a legislative body, that decision could be nullified. And also willful violations. If you intend to violate the statute, you can incur criminal penalties, and possibly the court, if the challenger of a decision prevails against the city, the court may award attorney's fees to that party, which is always a pretty substantial amount. And most importantly, there's going to be a loss of public confidence from a city commission or a committee failing to kind of adhere to the Brown Act rules. And that is, I consider it kind of the most impactful thing to happen, because that, in addition to the monetary penalties or procedural requirements, that is very hard to restore. And, once that violation occurs, public confidence can go away, and it could take a long time to kind of rebuild that sense of trust in the government. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions that any of the commissioners have.
Okay, Claire, it looks like Dakai has a question. Dakai.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Claire. Thank you so much for sharing. I was just wondering if we would be able to have access to that PowerPoint just for reference in the future.
Yes, absolutely. I can work with Ashley to distribute.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Next up is Commissioner Ethan.
Hi, I was wondering, because I know in 5-member bodies, say like the city council, only one member can only talk to one other member, because 3 would be a majority. But does that number change as the body itself is bigger, or is that just a rule in the Brown Act that you can only talk to one other person about something?
The number does change because if there's 3 people, that constitutes a quorum, so it's a majority. And so it depends on how many members are on the board, on the commission, and so that number does change. But it's generally a majority of the body cannot confer together in that way.
Okay, next up is Commissioner Russell.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. I was just wondering, since there's an existing Slack, I guess, chat that all the commissioners have right now, and I was wondering if that's if we would be able to let's say we have an event and we want to organize it ourselves, I guess, or just not have necessarily staff time dedicated towards that, since I know staff time is limited. Is that a violation of the Brown Act?
I would say coordinating event times is probably permissible. The Brown Act does allow kind of that kind of communication, agendizing items, and kind of polling commissioners about when you can attend the meeting. And so I say that's a problem.
Next is Commissioner Monique.
Hello, a few things. To answer Dakai's question, it was sent out in the email, so we all have the slides for the Brown Act and the agenda as well. Also, I know we already officialized the agenda, but there's a misspelling. Giancarlo's name, it's actually one word, just for future reference, because it's spelled as 2 words right now. And also I wanted to comment on kind of the Slack chat. I don't know if we want to talk about deleting it in the meetings going forward or add that to a future agenda item, just because there is a lot of information on that, and I just feel we could use Remind, which will just send out a text to each individual phone number as to meeting times, just because it's more of a group chat than it is a notification thing. So it might be better to delete it, but whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah, I think just a comment about that. I think that the more you reduce the opportunity of kind of congregating and replying all, and kind of that kind of discussion, that reduces your the possibility of a violation. But that's probably a good proposal.
Next is Commissioner Aaron.
Hello. I don't know if my question more pertains to our social media policy, but I was wondering because it's my understanding that we will have full control over our social media accounts, and I was wondering if that has any implications in regards to the Brown Act.
So if a commissioner posts about, let's say, an item that's going to be discussed on the youth commission agenda. My recommendation would be that the other commissioners not kind of comment on it or react to the post, because that's what the statute would prohibit and would, that would be contradicting the intent of the statute. Commissioners are free to post on social media, on Facebook, to participate in that way, but it's the kind of the interactions between the members of the commission that that the statute is intended to address.
Claire, if I could just jump in here, I would say that the commission is subject to the same social media policy that all commissions and all city employees are subject to. So it's not that the city is going to censor, but there is a social media policy, and that's something we'll cover in a future meeting. And I think we'll want to develop a social media policy for the youth commission, because I just wouldn't want you to have the impression that there are no guidelines for social media, because there certainly will be. There are some, like.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think that, thinking about it from a perspective of you're acting as a commissioner for the city, versus, who you're interacting with your fellow commissioners. I think that both are very important considerations to keep in mind.
Monique, Commissioner Monique, did you have another question?
Yeah, just a follow up from Aaron's question on like our Instagram. Would we have to like rename it? Because right now we're like the SSF Yak, and then so we'd rename it to be the official like Youth Commission of South City.
I thought we already renamed it.
Oh, did we?
Mhm.
Okay.
Commissioner Russell?
I was just wondering, I guess like in terms of like jurisdiction, like since like I guess it's like everything that like encompasses youth, like is that kind of like like because like with some of the things like public comment and like other things I guess that refer to jurisdiction, and like whether or not like I guess someone could like comment on their thing. I don't know. I'm like, yeah, I'm just kind of being vague, but like is our like same jurisdiction like the same as like city councils, like in terms of like all the different topics that the youth advisory commission covers? Just as like a clarification question, I guess.
Yeah, so that's a very good point. For example, somebody comes to a commission meeting and wants to talk about a development project that's happening down the street, that is within the city's boundaries, that's clearly city business, but it's not really within the kind of the ambit of the youth commission to comment on specific development requirements. And so that would be an example. The public can comment on items that's on the agenda, they can express their views, but because that's something that's not agendized for this commission, and it probably very likely does not have, it does not pertain to what the commission's purpose is, the commission would not discuss that during the meeting.
Commissioner Aaron?
Oh, I had two more questions actually. One question would be, is that if we were to pass a resolution to city council, would the city council address our resolution the following city council meeting? And I guess my other question is, we can't talk about action items until after it's dealt with to city council, with city council. I don't know if I phrased that correctly, but yeah.
So I guess on your first question, when the commission makes a recommendation, it also depends on what the underlying kind of matter is, right? And what we're most likely, I think that it's going to follow kind of the agenda flow, and what it's going to, depending on what the underlying matter is, if the commission is looking at a particular question or a particular issue, depends on what that is, it will be agendized, you know, depending on kind of the schedule, availability, when the issue's coming up, all those things. And it goes to the city council, the recommendation goes to the city council. Whether or not the form of the recommendation is a resolution, it's something that we can probably look at. Just because of kind of the nature of advisory committees, generally recommendation just comes as recommendations. And so, yes, the city council does consider them. That's the purpose of the commission. It takes, you know, it takes on the recommendations of what it authorizes the commission to do. And so, secondly, on kind of, I guess, when can commissioners talk about an item that they've recommended to the city council? Does that kind of appropriately characterize your question? Okay. Yeah, so I think that in that context, you know, you want to consider, is this a Brown Act issue, or is it kind of discussion outside of a meeting? And also, you know, what kind of view are you expressing as a commissioner before and after you make a recommendation? So there's not, I guess there's not a straight answer to when, you know, the law requires that you don't talk about a certain thing before or after you make a recommendation during a meeting, or you vote on recommendation. But I guess the important thing to think about is, you know, what views are you casting on the recommendation that's about to be made or has been made.
Commissioner Ethan.
I have like kind of a question that's tangentially related to what Aaron just asked. So since we're an advisory body and the ordinance that established us just says like we're to advise on issues relating to the youthful community, could, so long as we can reasonably argue that this issue or this thing would affect the youth, can we comment on it?
I mean, I think that's kind of a case-by-case issue, or case-by-case analysis, but I think generally, yes, the scope of the commission is drafted pretty broadly in the ordinance, in my view, and so, you know, that's kind of the commission's purpose. But obviously, if there are questions on whether or not this is an appropriate topic or something else within the commission's scope, we can obviously look at that and analyze it for you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I don't see any other questions, so I would just like to thank Claire for being here. The slides were sent to the commission members, however, I will post them online anyway. And thank you to the other commissioners from different commission groups for coming. And I will go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, which is the election of officers. For election of officers, we currently have 3 vacant seats. It's going to be chair, vice chair, and secretary. Commission members are welcome to nominate someone. Whoever is nominated must either accept or deny the nomination. And then I will go through a roll call vote. So I will open up the floor to any commission members who would like to nominate for chair. Commissioner Aaron.
I'll nominate Commissioner Ethan for chair.
Are there any other nominations?
Ashley, I think we need a second.
Oh, does anyone second that nomination?
I can second that nomination.
Now I can go through the roll call vote. Okay.
Unless there are the other nominations.
Are there any other nominations? Thank you, Sharon. I do not see any hands raised or anything in the chat. Okay, I will do a roll call vote and commission members can either state yes or no if they would like Ethan to take the position of chair. Aaron Adriano.
Yes.
Samantha Avila,
Yes.
Genevieve Kamal. It's not here. Commissioner Sophia Cyrus,
Yes.
Commissioner Dick Kai Hailu,
Yes.
Commissioner Jasmine Ho,
Yes.
Commissioner Melissa Hewitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Cheska Ibasan,
Yes.
Commissioner Ingrid Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Daniela Leon,
Yes.
Commissioner Micaela Mariano.
Yes.
Ethan, I forgot to ask you if you accept this nomination. I apologize. Thank you. Commissioner Giancarlo Ray,
Yes.
Commissioner Monique Ray,
Yes.
Commissioner Julia Tu,
Yes.
Commissioner Megan Yoshida.
Yes.
Okay. Ethan Mizzy, you are now the chair. I am going to go ahead and hand off the meeting to Ethan. I will continue on with roll call votes for the following positions.
Okay. Hello. Do I just say, okay, and now we're going to move on to election of the vice chair. Are there any nominations for the office of vice chair?
I nominate Erin for vice chair.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second Danielle's motion.
Commissioner Adriano, do you accept said nomination?
Thank you, I guess. Yes.
Ashley, may we have a roll call vote?
Yes, you may.
I actually wanted to nominate Ingrid Jimenez as well. If anyone wanted to second that.
I'd second that motion.
Commissioner Jimenez, do you accept said nomination?
Yes.
What do we, Ashley, what
Are
are we,
there
there's two conflicting motions on the floor.
Yeah, so I'm going to go through the roll call vote and each person will state whether they vote for either Erin or Ingrid, unless there are any other nominations.
Are there any other nominations for the position of vice chair?
Okay, I'm going to begin the roll call vote. Question, sorry, Sharon. Do the people nominated get to vote as well?
They do.
Okay. Erin, Commissioner Erin Adriano.
Can I vote for myself? Oh, I vote for myself.
Okay. Commissioner Samantha Avila.
Is there a way that you can come back to me, or do I have to go down?
Sharon.
Thank you.
I think we can circle back.
We can circle back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Genevieve. Commissioner Sophia Cyrus.
I'll vote for Erin.
Okay. Commissioner Dekai Hailu.
I'll vote for Erin.
Commissioner Jasmine Ho.
Erin.
Is that Erin?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Melissa Hewitt.
I will vote for Commissioner Erin.
Commissioner Cheska Ibasan.
Is it okay if you come back to me? Sorry.
No problem.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ingrid Jimenez.
I vote for Aaron.
Commissioner Russell Lee.
I'll vote for Ingrid.
Commissioner Daniela Leong.
I'll vote for Aaron.
Commissioner Nika Mariano.
Can you please circle back to me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ethan Mizzy.
Aaron.
Commissioner Giancarlo Ray.
I vote for Ingrid.
Commissioner Monique Ray.
Commissioner Ingrid.
Commissioner Juliet Siu.
Oh, I vote for Aaron.
Commissioner Megan Yoshida.
I vote for Aaron.
I'm going to circle back to the ones who passed. Commissioner Samantha Avila.
I vote for Commissioner Ingrid.
Commissioner Cheska Ibasan.
I vote for Commissioner Aaron.
And Commissioner Nika Mariano.
I vote for Commissioner Aaron.
So the majority vote was for Commissioner Aaron Adriano. I hand it back over to Chair Ethan.
Thank you, Ashley, and congratulations to Vice Chair Adriano. So now I believe we are going to move on to, there it is. Secretary, it doesn't say it on the agenda. Are we doing secretary still?
Yes.
Yes. Are there any nominations for the office of secretary?
I nominate Commissioner Ingrid Jimenez.
Is there a second to the motion or nomination?
I, Commissioner Avila Gomez, second that.
With a second from Commissioner Avila Gomez, does Commissioner Jimenez accept the nomination? Sorry, I'm like trying to think of like the words I'm supposed to use. Sorry.
Yeah, yes.
And are there any other nominations for the office of secretary? Okay, with no other nominations, can we have a roll call vote, Ashley, please?
Sorry, I was on mute. Commissioner Aaron Adriano.
I vote for Ingrid.
Commissioner Samantha Avila.
Vote for Ingrid.
Commissioner Genevieve Kamal.
I vote for Ingrid.
Commissioner Sophia Cyrus.
I vote for Ingrid.
Commissioner Dekai Hailu.
I vote for Ingrid.
Commissioner Jasmine Ho.
I vote for Ingrid.
Commissioner Melissa Hiwa.
I vote for Ingrid.
Commissioner Cheska Ibasan.
I vote for Commissioner Ingrid.
Commissioner Ingrid. Yes.
I vote for myself.
Commissioner Russell Lee.
I vote for Ingrid.
Commissioner Daniela Leong.
I vote for Ingrid.
Commissioner Nika Mariano.
I vote for Commissioner Ingrid.
Commissioner Giancarlo Ray.
I vote for Commissioner Ingrid.
Commissioner Monique Ray.
I vote for Commissioner Ingrid.
Commissioner Juliet Siu.
I vote for Commissioner Ingrid.
Commissioner Megan Yoshida.
I vote for Commissioner Ingrid.
Chair Ethan Mizzy.
I would also like to vote for Commissioner Jimenez. All right. Congratulations to Secretary Ingrid Jimenez. And now on to the next item on the agenda, which will be Roman numeral 7, mission statement. So I believe since we're a new body, after talking with staff, like the old, I don't know if we want to modify the mission statement or if we wanted to make a whole new one. I personally think it might be nice to just like like revamp it / gut it and make a new one, but like it's up to the majority. Does anyone have any thoughts?
Ethan, could you maybe share, can you screen share the current mission statement or read it out loud?
I can go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm actually like currently like trying to open the page to see what the mission statement is. The South San Francisco Youth Commission seeks to address issues affecting youth through collaboration with the City Council and SSF-USD Board of Trustees. I believe that's like our old one, because I know at one point we cut out the school board, but it doesn't really say anything about like our values or what we're like trying to do. I don't know. Is there any input from the body?
Commissioner Takai has her hand raised.
I just wanted to mention one thing. I think we might have gone over it when we were discussing the Brown Act, but one thing that really struck out to me was that I know in our mission statement, it says we want to address issues specifically affecting the youth. And my thought was just that a lot of the projects that we've worked on in the past were not exclusively issues that concern the youth. And if anything, it was, affecting residents, South City as a whole. And so my question is, do we want to add on that it's not just specifically for the youth? Do we want to, is that possible at this point? Because I know that the resolution that City Council had voted on was probably something that was closer to this current mission statement, but that's just my general question is, considering the past things that we've worked on, is our mission statement okay if we make it a more general thing as opposed to just issues affecting the youth?
I would say like anything that affects the youth kind of affects everybody. And like the ordinance is very broad because it just says the City Council seeks input and advice for the youthful community. So like that's super broad. But I think since we're a youth commission, it should mention the youth. But like if we want to mention other things, I think that's totally okay. Does it say the hands in order in which they were raised, or is that just a random order?
I'm unsure of that. I know it was either commissioner.
I think it's timed because I just saw a new hand and that's at the bottom.
Okay, so it would be Commissioner or Vice Chair Aaron Adriano. Is that correct?
Yeah, I guess I had a question, because didn't we work on a new mission statement that was put into the resolution that we proposed? Because I just remember, yeah, Dakai, yeah, I remember, I don't know, I remember a previous council meeting, we were like deciding, we already made changes to the one that we're looking at right now.
It's not in the ordinance. I don't believe. I don't know. I remember we did make a new one, but like, I think it might have been before the ordinance was passed. I'm not sure. Takai, do you have access to that document? I'm not sure.
Sorry, I don't mean to speak out of turn. I know there's people with their hands raised, but just to answer your question, Ethan, I was actually looking for that document earlier before this meeting, and I couldn't find it. For some reason, my memory is telling me that you had access to that document or you were the one that created it.
Okay. I'll look for it. I'm notoriously bad with like Google, not Google Docs, but like the bigger one that has all your Google things, Google
Drive.
Yeah, I'll look for it. Commissioner Ray has her hand up.
I was gonna say that we might want to consider mentioning some of the things that we want to do, like actionable items. Like I know the County Youth Commission has a line about presenting policy recommendations and creating projects that serve the community. So if we wanted to maybe like list the things we hope to do.
I don't know. I mean, that would be, I'm of the opinion that like mission statements should be more like a bigger permanent thing rather than like a year-to-year thing. But like, I mean, we could, depending on what they are. I don't have that.
Like big ideas, like create youth awareness or like creating projects, like just like vague terms.
Does anyone else? There's a comment in the chat. Genevieve, sorry, Commissioner Kamal says we can change it as we go on, perhaps. I think we can change it as we go on. Commissioner Yoshida has their hand up.
Yeah, so I just said, going off of what Takai said, I think that because we don't do things just specific use, we could say like changes and policy related things from the perspective of youth, because this is a youth commission. We could include something about it being the youth's perspective about things.
I think that's a good idea. Also, to respond to Takai, I looked in my like youth advisory council Google Drive folder and I cannot find it, but I'm also very bad at Google Drive, so it could just be hiding from me, but I'm sorry. Commissioner Cyrus has their hand up.
Yes, I wanted to say just generally about our mission statement. I feel that it'll be good or more impactful if we include the purpose, values, and goals of the Youth Commission. I feel like that's a very important key thing we include in it.
I agree. I think like especially like our values and stuff, that's kind of crucial because like we want to not set ourselves apart, but like say like who we are and what we believe like as a collective. And if anyone wants to like comment on the things people are saying, like you can comment. I don't care. Commissioner Avila Gomez has their hand up.
Hi. Just I was going to comment on the same thing that Commissioner Ray did, so I agree with what they said. But also, I'm so sorry if this might have just like completely passed my mind. But since we're kind of like detaching from the idea of like the SSFUSD school board and taking that out of our mission statement, do we still have to go to 2 school board meetings per term? Because that's what I see in the requirements. Sorry, off topic to the mission statement.
That's not off. I mean, it's related. I think those that is kind of invalid now since the YAC doesn't exist anymore. I would encourage everybody to go to school board meetings. I think Sam, you're probably the one person who actually has to go since you're ASB president, but I do not believe anyone is, since it's not in, it was never a part of the ordinance that created the commission, no one is required to go to school board meetings. But I would encourage you to go just because like they're cool, informative, and like important. Does that answer the question? Was there a beginning part of that question?
No.
Okay.
No, the beginning part was I agree with Commissioner Ray on we should talk about projects or things that we're working towards. Like we could say like, oh, we're working on the health or like the public. I know we're kind of big on public transit. Or like we talk about it sometimes. It's been brought up in prior YAC meetings. That was the beginning part, but thank you for the clarification.
Vice Chair Adriano has their hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I agree with Commissioner Yoshida and Commissioner Cyrus and Commissioner Ray. But I guess mine is a question for staff. Is Ethan writing down these changes, or are y'all taking notes of the changes that we're suggesting and we'll develop a new mission statement?
I would also have I would like to elevate Aaron's question because I also have that question.
I can answer. Tamiko and I are taking notes and meetings for the minutes. I see recommendations, however, I don't see sentences. And Sharon, you can tell me this. Is it up to us? So they're giving us these ideas and Tamiko and I will create a new mission statement, or is it up to them to create the specific wording that they would like? And we just write that down. And there are changes on the website that I still need to make. So a lot of this is from the YAC, just so that's noted. But and I will update this. But my question, yeah, Sharon, are we writing it or are they writing it?
Well, you know, if the commission this evening comes up with a statement that they really like, that would be awesome. And we would make a note of that. And then at the next meeting, present it to them to say, yes, this is what we said. But if it's really just a series of recommendations that they're making, I think we'll just take the notes. We could take a crack at drafting a mission statement that seems to include those things that the commission's talking about. And then again, we're going to have to bring this back, I think, to the next meeting, just and I also think people should also think about it between now and then. And maybe come back at the next meeting to approve it. So is that clear? Like, the staff can try and take an effort to draft something, but we wouldn't approve it without the commission looking at it again, just to make sure, unless tonight you guys have consensus and you come up with a mission statement that you all love it and say, yeah, that's the one we want to vote on this. You could do that tonight, but again, you may just bring it back to the agenda next month.
So yeah, I think the conclusion is whether or not you guys would like to create your own, or if you would like staff to come back with a recommendation of a new youth commission mission statement. Because the comments have so far been, I feel like, more recommendations, a little bit more general about the wording. So up to the commission.
I know staff time is very valuable. I think like if using the recommendations you crafted like a very rough draft, perhaps Aaron, Ingrid, or myself can like meet with you and with Tamiko or you, and like we can like talk about it and make it like more concrete using the recommendations, and then bring it to the next meeting. And like maybe if there's any specific wording or like other things inserted or deleted that the commission wants to make, we can talk about it then, if that sounds good with everybody. Sharon?
Sure, Missy, you might want to have a little mission statement subcommittee then, just so that anybody who wants to be in that group of folks to follow up with staff could, just to be totally inclusive. So, and again, it would be, you know, not a quorum, not more than half of you. But if there's a few of you that want to be on a little subcommittee, get together, discuss the mission statement, staff would be happy to meet with you. And then you come back with a draft next month. That would be fine.
I think that's a great idea. If anyone would like, or Ashley, would you prefer them to just contact me if they want to be a part of the process, or contact you, or?
They could say tonight, Ethan, if anybody wants to be on the subcommittee, just so it's.
I think that's the next item on the agenda is subcommittees, which would be the perfect time.
We can just circle back then. Does anyone have any? Oh, sorry. Okay, Commissioner Hua, your hand is up.
Yeah. A slight suggestion, like hearing some of the comments that were made, looking specifically at specific programs that we might implement throughout the year. I think given the history of our commission, I would slightly suggest not following this, just because our goals and priorities have always changed throughout the year. And I feel like it would be inconsistent to put goals and we would not follow through. Something that I did like was kind of looking at the SFU Commission's own mission statement, was how instead of how we use issues regarding to youth, they actually use more specific language. So they use legislative policies, programs, and budgets. And I think that could give us a lot more leeway, and a lot more kind of jurisdiction about what we can talk about. So the Brown Act isn't so confusing, but that would be my personal recommendation.
I tend to agree. Commissioner Ray, your hand is up. We have two commissioners, Ray. So are you okay with me just saying Commissioner Monique and Commissioners Giancarlo? or like I can say whatever.
I think JC, Giancarlo, do you go by JC? Would you prefer?
Yeah, I go by JC.
Okay. Commissioner Monique Ray has her hand up. I'll just use first and last names.
Or if JC, do you want to just go with JC? I could go with Ray. It's like less syllables, if that's easier for you. I think that's
The syllables are not an issue, I promise.
okay. I just have a quick question. How do we go about adding agenda items to the next agenda? Like, when would we like suggest that? Like, is it as it arises, or?
Typically, if the commission, if there's consensus to add an item to the next agenda, you could discuss it this evening. If there's an item between now and then, you would talk to the chair and say that you'd like to add this item to the agenda. And he'll the chair would typically talk to staff, or you could let staff know that you want to add this item to the agenda, and we would communicate with the chair. But if there's something you want to add this evening, it would be good to, if the whole commission says, yes, that's a great topic, we want to talk about it, or no, we want to talk about that next year, or whatever their consensus is.
So would we just like motion, like I motion to like put something on the agenda for next time, and then like second, and then like vote?
No, I think it would just kind of be a consensus. I don't think you would have to move to put something on the agenda. It would just be a discussion topic, and we'd get a sense if there's a consensus to agendas that next month.
There is a portion of the agenda at the end, items from commission. I think that's when you would do that, right?
That would be a good place to do it. Yeah.
Okay, there are no other hands. Ashley and Tamiko, do you think you have enough of like a skeleton of a framework, or like with enough of the recommendations that there's something to work with, or would you like us to talk about it more? I don't know.
Sorry. I was under the impression that we would have a subcommittee.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Oh my God. Sorry. You're right. All right, so with no hands raised, let's move on to the next item, subcommittees. So mission statement, that's a subcommittee we said we were gonna do. What other subcommittees do you think we should do? Melissa brought up the San Francisco Youth Commission. They have a few. There's I think they have like executive, like committee, which is the officers, but they have a ton of officers. They have like 7. And also I don't really want to copy everything the San Francisco Youth Commission does. But they also have like a transformative justice one. I have to pull it up. Housing and land use, transformative justice, and another one. There's a list somewhere. But what do you all think about like specific committees to have about issues? Genevieve says a housing subcommittee would be good. Ah, there are hands raised. Vice Chair Adriano's hand is first.
This isn't really an issue, but I know that prior to, while we were still the YAC, we were talking a lot about updating youth in government. I was wondering if that would require an individual subcommittee for people who would make recommendations to change Youth in Government Day.
I'm okay with that. I mean, yeah, but it is kind of important enough where I think we should all talk about it like in our meetings. But if we want like certain people to be like really dedicated to it, I'm totally okay with that. What does staff think?
I'll just say, I think it would be a fine subcommittee to generate some ideas and then a recommendation to the full body. So they would come back to you and say, well, here's 2 ideas. We looked at this city, this program, that program, and this is what we're proposing. and then here's another option, let's say, and then the full commission could discuss it. It's really just kind of an expedited way of getting to kind of a new format for the event. If your subcommittee goes out and does some research and does some work on it. But again, and I agree, the whole commission should consider it. And it's up to you guys if you like that subcommittee format, or you just want to put it on the agenda for a future agenda and everybody talk about it. But I think the subcommittee personally is probably a really good idea, because it's getting close. Like it's in the spring of next year, and you guys need to, if we're going to have an event at all, we need to get the date set, or dates, or whatever you decide to do, and the format, because there's just a lot of logistics for both the school district and the city. So that's just, I think I'm repeating myself, but it's you guys' call, but I think the subcommittee is a good idea.
Okay.
If you all do.
And it doesn't have to be like a permanent committee. Like it could just be like a ad hoc, like temporary thing. Like once we get it all worked out, like we obviously don't need to talk about it like in the summer. Commissioner Monique Ray has her hand up.
I was gonna suggest potentially like an environmental justice subcommittee, because it's kind of something that will affect all the youth and affect all of us. And I know in like a lot of the applications for you guys from a year or so back, a lot of people suggested interest in like the environment and things we do in South San Francisco. I know like our beginning in the youth, when we were a pilot program, we did a lot of like projects surrounding that, going to beaches and different places. So maybe like that's something we're still interested in. And then I also wanted to suggest a new subcommittee on like women of color youth around like data collection and kind of like some issues that they may be facing that we don't really know about. Yeah. And then also wanted to second whoever suggested housing and planning. Was that Genevieve? I wanted to also echo that.
I think those are cool. But then like, I think we should only have like 4 like regular big committees. And like, those are like very niche topics. So like if we can like combine like that into like a bigger topic, I think that would be cool, but it's whatever. It's up to everyone else. Commissioner Hailu, your hand is up.
Yeah, so I just have a couple of thoughts. First one is that you kind of touched on it when you mentioned how many subcommittees we should have. So that was sort of my question as to whether or not we want to put a number on the subcommittees, because it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Ethan, for every subcommittee, there's going to be a certain number of commissioners that are going to be on that subcommittee, right? And that doesn't mean that everyone is going to, be on whatever subcommittee, but everyone basically gets to pick and choose. And so I feel like the number of subcommittees should be based on the number of commissioners. And then, there was one other one that I wanted to mention, civic engagement. Just thinking back to our past voter registration booth projects, that seems to be like a annual thing for us. We've had a lot of success in the past, back when we were like a pilot project. So I just wanted to mention civic engagement was probably one that is going to be important for us as a youth commission moving forward.
I agree on the civic engagement thing. And I think things like social media totally fit into that, since it's engaging with the people. But then also to address your first point, since quorum would be majority, that's because there's 17 people, that would be 9 people. So I guess each subcommittee could have no more than 8. I'm very bad at math, but I think so. Like as long as they have 8 or less people, it would be fine. But then also remember, like if it's a subcommittee, it would have to like meet regularly, I guess. But yes.
Okay. And then before you choose someone else, sorry, I just don't want to.
Yeah.
I was gonna say boards. Does that mean that we're not going to have any boards and just it'll be a subcommittee? Because I remember somewhere in the application that we sent out a year ago for when we were recruiting new commission members, we had asked people who are applicants at the time if they have any boards in mind similar to a subcommittee. So I just want to clarify whether or not we're going to have boards and subcommittees, or if it's just going to be subcommittees.
I think for simplicity's sake, those will just be the same thing.
Okay.
This time around, because I know we did like have both at one point.
Right. And I wasn't suggesting that we should. That's actually the answer I wanted to hear, because I figured if we're gonna have subcommittees, it would be redundant to have a board. So I just wanted to clarify that.
And also, like, when I like say things to respond to like certain like individual people, like if anyone disagrees with me, like please say that. Like I'm not like the dictator. That was like a joke. Laugh at me. No, I'm kidding. Ashley, your hand is up.
My question is for Sharon, but I didn't want to cut everyone in line, but it's very quick.
You can
Just-
put people in line.
Just for some clarification, Sharon, just because Tamiko and I are both new to staffing a commission, we were wondering staff would be present at these subcommittee meetings, correct?
Staff does not have to be present at your subcommittee meetings, but if you want to invite them, you know, if they can make it, they will attend. But sometimes subcommittees will meet on their own. Like, for example, you know, the Cultural Arts Commission, if they're looking for a piece of art, 2 or 3 of them may go into the city and look at a piece of art together. We do not need to staff a subcommittee meeting, but we, again, I'm repeating myself, but we will if there's a desire to have a staff person there.
Okay, and my second question off of that was, is there a requirement for how often the subcommittees may meet?
No, they may only want to meet once. I mean, like maybe, like I mentioned, the Cultural Arts Commission, they may go look at a piece of art and say, we pick the, you know, we recommend this one, and then they may come back. It depends on the nature of your business. And no, it wouldn't be like you have to meet every Tuesday at 2:00. You might meet once or twice and then come back with a recommendation. There isn't a requirement. It could be short or it could be fairly long if it's a very complicated, meaty issue that you're looking into, or it could be a simple issue that doesn't take that long.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mariano, your hand is up.
Yes, I would just like to echo some of the thoughts and suggestions other commissioners have had. For example, I second the housing subcommittee that Commissioner Kamal brought up, and also to follow up on Commissioner Hailu's suggestion on civic engagement. I'm not sure if it's directly related because it's not necessarily a city related issue, but would it be possible to arrange a committee for social media and marketing engagement for planning and stuff like that?
Yes, I think I mentioned, like, I would argue like things like social media is included in civic engagement because that's like a way of engaging people. But like if we want a specific, like, because we can like do both. Like we can have like the person who runs the Instagram and the person who runs the Twitter like meet individually just for specific social media stuff. Like I think that would be fine. So I guess long-winded yes. Sorry, Nika. Commissioner Avila Gomez, your hand is next.
Hello, sorry, I'm gonna go off screen because I wrote my things down in my notes. So I'd like to second Commissioner Monique's recommendation for an environmentalism subcommittee. But also I was thinking, since we said that we don't want to have so many subcommittees, we could also involve gardening in that. And then if we could have one on restorative justice, and maybe Monique's recommendation of, sorry for the background noise, Monique's recommendation of women of color like studies can also be involved in that subcommittee. Those are my 2 recommendations.
Right. Commissioner Kamal.
Hello. I'd like to, I think echo, right? I'd like to echo what Commissioner Monique Ray and Commissioner Avilia Gomez has said, or has mentioned, about a woman of color subcommittee. I think that would be very good. But I'd also like to suggest a subcommittee that might help involve the youth of South City into like public works, maybe like cleaning up the neighborhood, city, something like that. Maybe can help them like gain volunteer hours while not feeling so committed to like school clubs or something. Like I can't think of a school club at the top of my head that does like community service hours, but just so that they can feel like welcome and open to helping out the community rather than just kind of like feeling constrained by like their school or like expectations from their peers. Oh, that's it. Sorry.
No, I'm trying. Marie actually, I think Marie like runs it, but the IPP something improving public places. I had to like think about it. Marie runs like the big like volunteer super group thing, right? Sharon, you're making.
They're two separate things, actually. So
what does Marie do and what is the other?
Marie's been coordinating the food drives, the holiday food drives. So there'll be one in November and one in December. And improving public places is in the parks realm. And Josh and Greg, they had a meeting tonight, actually. They coordinate that, the improving public places. But I will just mention to you, I was at a public meeting on Sunday and one of the parents asked me this very question, like, what is the city doing to facilitate teen volunteerism? And I didn't have a very good answer, really. We have a few opportunities, but I think it's a great idea, just me personally, to have like a volunteer subcommittee and maybe identify opportunities and recommendations for why we don't have more volunteer placements. She was specifically interested in middle school, but I think it could apply to middle school and high school. Anyway, so just my 2 cents. It would be an awesome initiative and would really help the city if the youth commission did something in the realm of volunteerism.
No, yeah, I totally agree. And I guess I just think Marie runs everything because she's, but
she's involved in everything. Absolutely.
Commissioner Avila Gomez said maybe that could be part of civic engagement, which I was about to say. So I totally agree. And also, Jen, I think that's a really great idea because we need to get the youth more involved. Commissioner Hua?
Yeah, I also agree with Chair Mizzy about limiting the size of the committees. So another idea that I was looking at specifically was housing, land use, and transportation as one major subcommittee. And then I also like Commissioner Avila Gomez's idea of a commission, like what they call it in the San Francisco Youth Commission is they call it transformative justice, but it kind of, we had it before as like human rights. So I like the idea, and we can have like specific like women of color like subcommittees there, but it also can go into the realm of like mental health. And specifically if we're looking at health and wellness, that could also be something that we look at there. And then I also second environmental justice. And I think the last one was civic engagement. So
no, yeah, I think their committee for transformative justice is it's a good name because it encompasses so many things. And it's kind of like interpretive, but also like specific. Commissioner Cyrus, your hand is up.
Yes, first, commenting on the community hours Commissioner Kamal mentioned, I know many schools run key clubs for service hours, so if we ever want to enact something with community hours, we can take a look about how those are run. We can make it something where we just notify people on possible community service activities. But also I wanted to mention a few subcommittees I wanted to add in would be environmental and public works, as well as mental health or just health in general and education. With the environmental stuff, I suppose I'm seconding what Commissioner Monique had said as well.
In the chat, Commissioner Hua said South City El Camino should have work experience opportunities. The city just did that big internship thing, and I would like, since it was such a big success and everybody liked it, I hope that that can be expanded. And I hope that one of our subcommittees, whichever one, can talk about that in some capacity. Vice Chair Adriano, your hand is up.
Yeah, I just had another logistical question for staff. Sorry, I get really caught up in like the logistics of everything, but I wanted to get a better idea of just like the scope of what these subcommittees could do, because what I'm getting from it is that it's really up to the subcommittee's discretion, but maybe like, I don't know, by getting this idea, maybe we'll have a better idea of what types of subcommittees we're creating, because what I'm getting is we're creating subcommittees for very specific issue areas that we want to tackle, but at the same time we could create subcommittees for like very specific events, like for example, the Youth and Government Day subcommittee. I don't know. I guess I'm just a little confused as to to what extent, to what these subcommittees are doing.
Well, Commissioner Adriana, it's hard to not call you guys by your first names, Aaron. I would say, it just depends on the subcommittee. And again, we just had the presentation on the Brown Act, right? So the whole concept is the full commission is going to be the decision-making body here, but these are just subgroups that are going to go do some research and come back to the group with some recommendations. And it just depends. You could do, there's all kinds of different subcommittees. It could be about a specific event, or it could be about a big issue. So I think both are possible, and they're going to come back to the full commission with some recommendations or some insights or some information in the future.
Sorry, I'm reading the chat. Thank you, Sharon. Dakai says, I think ad hoc committees are good for the very niche events that, yeah, I agree. I think like a temporary, like special subcommittee is good for those, but like we should have like more permanent, bigger ones for like the things that we want to continually talk about. And then I also agree with Monique. Commissioner Ho, your hand is up.
Yeah, I just want to like circle back and echo on what Commissioner Kamal and Commissioner Cyrus said about like the civil engagement and the volunteerism. I think it's really important that we like expand the opportunities to a lot of teens, since like I know that many teens want to have a voice in a community and want to like create change. A lot of students at El Camino, me and Nika run the Interact Club for El Camino, and that's like a volunteering club. And we like have gathered that like a lot of students want to like do something good for a community, and they want to feel like they're a part of something. And I feel like a civil engagement subcommittee can like really help with that. And I know that we're not really like close with the school board, we don't really work with them, but I really want to like push like on social media or like however else we can to schools, since that's where a lot of information spreads as well.
I would agree. And also like, since y'all are running those clubs, you can always plug your events here at the meetings. And then also like, since you go to El Camino, anyone can submit like an announcement thing. So if say we were going to do a thing, you can like submit it in the office and they will read it. Or at least I don't know, that's how the verbal announcements used to be. I don't know how the video ones are. Sorry, I don't even think that addresses what you just said, but I thought it was a good comment. Are there any other ideas, thoughts, comments, questions, or anything regarding subcommittees? Commissioner Hailu?
Yeah, I just wanted to like do a quick recap just to help anyone taking notes. I just wanted to mention basically from what I've heard, 4 things that can really be turned into subcommittees. And that's the first one I think everyone mentioned, or someone had mentioned, I think it was Monique. She raised the issue of women of color and their voices to be heard. And so in order to amplify that, I think the transformative justice, I think it was Commissioner Melissa Pua that mentioned transformative justice. And the second was economic development. And then that sort of encompasses everything related to housing, affordable housing. And so instead of, making a very specific housing subcommittee, it could just be in a larger sense, economic development. The third one, civic engagement, which, narrows down to the voting registration booths, everything related to social media. And then the last one that I gathered was environmental justice, which could encompass everything from community cleanups and tree planting projects. I just wanted to throw that out there just to help anyone taking notes and just to recap everything that we had been discussing for the last 10 minutes. And hopefully if I missed anything, if anyone wants to remind the group, but that's all.
Thank you, Dakai. I was like checking my notes. I was like, yes, I got it all down. My like one thing with what you said is I would say like ECD would be part of like land use. So like I would rather it just be called land use and like how in transportation, but like that's more of like a semantic thing. But yeah, and also like environmental justice, I think could be just a part of transformative justice, but like it could also be a part of land use, depending on if it's like a more like physical type of pollutant thing. But I mean, that's more like a case by case thing, but I agree. And then Sophia in the chat said, related to social media, I think it would be good if we spent more time and during another meeting discuss how we can branch out more on social media platforms. Yes, I will take note of that. Thank you. Tamiko, your hand is up.
Thank you. So I also had the same summary for the subcommittees. To be clear, we are still having a mission statement subcommittee.
I think that's probably needed.
Thank you.
And then also I was going to mention it later, but since we're saying it now, I think mission statement / bylaws could be the same committee, because the clerk is encouraging us to have bylaws, and I would tend to agree that bylaws are good. Sorry, continue. Oh, wait, I thought you had more, I'm sorry. Oh, never mind. Commissioner Monique Ray.
Okay, kind of recapping, but kind of suggesting, like, I know like when we were a pilot program, what we did is we kind of broke things up into like we chose like big umbrella topics, and then from there we had sub projects. But like, I feel like with the subcommittees, I don't know if we kind of, I guess like maybe in our next meeting, we can kind of talk about goals, and then we can really break it down into like big things of like, okay, like human rights / transformative justice. And then anything related to climate, environment would be its own thing. And then anything economic, we can make like 5 or 6 big umbrella things. And then like our actual subcommittees could be like the actual projects we want to work on. So like if like there's like a specific issue like Youth in Government Day, like a specific thing, then we're like, okay, like that falls within goal A or goal B that we're hoping to achieve by the end of the year, just so we can keep track of things. And that might be like an easier way to just organize our subcommittees.
I think kind of like what it may have been Melissa earlier saying like how we shouldn't put like specific things in our mission statement just in case if we don't do that. Was that you, Melissa?
Or not mission statement, I meant goals, like under like
no, yeah, but like I would rather have a subcommittee dedicated to doing a thing than having a thing that maybe a subcommittee can work on later, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, I would prefer that too. I just mean like it might be easier for everyone, because we did this when we first created the youth council, when we were at youth advisory council, is we just wanted to give new members and just all members like a good idea as to the things that they can start looking into, because some people like join the youth commission and they're kind of like, I'm passionate about this, but I didn't know that like housing problems exist. And so it might be a good idea to just really just everyone list a giant list of things that they can think of, and then kind of having that maybe not as a goal list, but just as some like orientation. So if you want to go back to a project, you can go back and say like, oh, we haven't looked at climate change in a while, or we haven't looked at so-and-so. So it might be good to just get a Google Doc out there, even if it's not, has nothing to do with our mission statement.
Well, I think that would kind of, well, since we were all on the yak for a while, all of us, at least a year. I think like we already kind of know, so like we wouldn't need an orientation thing. But like if we want to do that, we can do that. So I see the hands raised, but Sophia said maybe we could do a vote on subcommittees to figure out which ones we want to do the most and which ones we should prioritize. I tend to agree. I'll let Ashley and then Melissa speak first. Ashley?
Yeah, just for some clarification, Sharon, you can, I think like what we need to keep in mind is there's a difference between like, I think Ethan is saying a subcommittee that we're going to keep for the whole year, and then ad hoc committees, which are more temporary. So a subcommittee like mission and bylaws would be an ad hoc committee, correct? Because I think we do, like Ethan and like a few other members previously mentioned, like having 4 general subcommittees that continuously meet throughout the year. And then also along the way, we can continue to have, so like for Youth in Government Day, maybe in like December or January, an ad hoc committee is created. Is that like what we're getting at? Just for some clarification, just because I think a lot of people are bringing up very specific things that can definitely become a subcommittee, but are very specific.
I think that's a good distinction, Ashley, and the commissioners might want to, give this some thought and, but between now and the next meeting, as far as those broad categories, and it's actually, it sort of dovetails in with your mission as well. Like they should sort of speak to each other, your mission statement, and it may inspire you on what those broad categories are. But for this evening, you may want to pick some specific ad hoc committees, be it the Youth Government Day as one, and the mission statement as another one, and then give a little more thought to what some of those broad, what your interest, what you might have time to commit to over the course of the year as well, for a broad ongoing committee. I think it's a good distinction.
I also think that's a distinction that should be made. Commissioner Hua?
Yeah, I just had one question. So in terms of subcommittees, is there a restriction to how many one person can join? Okay. And so okay, thank you. And then my second question is there, for Chair Mizzi, is there like a max amount of subcommittees that we're looking at? Because I was like thinking specifically of what you mentioned about environmental justice and that fitting into either civic engagement or housing and land use. But I thought that it could also stand as a pretty strong subcommittee itself. So is there a max that you're looking at in terms of how many?
Like I think like 3 or 4, but like if we want more, we want more. I'm not opposed to it. And like I do think you're right. Like environment and climate is kind of its own special subject. So like it shouldn't just be lumped in with something like transit or something like justice stuff. So it should be its own thing. But like it's more so like, because if you say you're going to go to like a subcommittee, like you have to go to it and it's just another thing for you to do. So I don't want us, and I don't want you all to bite off more than we can chew. So like, it's really up, how many ever we want to have is however many we want to have, if that makes sense. And like San Francisco only has like 4, and one of them is just executive, which is just their officers meeting. And they're like a very robust body. So like, I don't want us to like do too much on our first try. So like, but like, feel free to disagree. Like it's not a big deal to me. Does that answer the question? Sorry. Okay. Commissioner Monique Ray.
I kind of just wanted to echo Commissioner Hua's concerns just about like how many we're gonna have, because it kind of sounds to me like this is a similar conversation to what we had at the beginning, where we kind of just created 5 like overarching committees, or like / umbrella topics, which were like human rights, environmental justice, civic engagement, and then I think mental / physical health. And then there was like one more, and there was like room for people to change that last one. And so it kind of sounds to me like we're doing the same thing. And then from within that, then we'll pick things that we want to focus on for the school year. And I think that that's probably the best way to go about it for the next agendas.
Sorry, could you repeat the list you had again?
It was human rights, environmental justice, mental / regular physical health. I think it was just called health, that commission. Civic engagement, and then I think there was one more, but I just can't remember.
Vice Chair Adriano. Sorry, I'm like writing things down. I'm not
No, it's all good. I just wanted to say, I wanted to echo your concerns, Ethan, about, I guess, spreading ourselves a little bit too thin. I don't know, because I remember that one of our main concerns when we were talking about recreating ourselves as a commission is making sure that we didn't fall into the trap that we fell into the last time of how we created a lot of commissions and subcommittees, and some of these subcommittees that we ended up creating didn't really have a lot of traction with some group members. Like, for example, I remember our first year, we had something like the Economic and Development Subcommittee. And all I just wanted to say is before we establish a subcommittee, we just ensure that there is like a desire of commissioners to join that subcommittee in the first place.
I agree. Like ECD is interesting, but I don't know if we all want to talk about like business licenses and stuff. And I know there's more to ECD than that. Like that's kind of mean for me to say. I like kind of have a semi-modified like list trying to like writing down everyone's like comments and suggestions. So like for 4 committees that are big and encompass everything, and correct me if it like doesn't encompass everything, would be Committee 1, Transformative Justice and Equity. Number 2, Housing, Land Use and Transit. 3, Environment and Sustainability. And 4, Civic Engagement. Is there anything not included in those? And then there would be ad hoc committees for mission statement and Youth and Government Day.
Wait, could you repeat them one more time? Sorry.
Transformative Justice and Equity, Housing, Land Use and Transit, Environment and Sustainability, and Civic Engagement.
Did we want to do one for volunteerism or something of that sort to do with just specifically like youth opportunities, or would that fall within equity?
I would consider that civic engagement.
Okay.
But within civic engagement, we could have a specific like volunteer working group with like 2 people who want to just brainstorm ideas for volunteer stuff. There's nothing preventing us from doing that. And also if a few commissioners, so long as it's less than 8, just like have an idea and talk amongst themselves and want to bring it to a subcommittee or bring it to a general meeting, like there's nothing preventing anyone from doing that. Sharon's nodding her head, which means good. Vice Chair Adriano?
Maybe just an idea that we could probably, because one of our subcommittees, like you're saying, is housing and public transit, but maybe something we could do is put public transit under the environmental and sustainability subcommittee.
We could. I would just think that that's more of a land use thing, but like it doesn't really matter. But like I think like housing, land use, and transit kind of go hand in hand. But like transit definitely is like pro environment. But like also like transit and transportation would also like technically include highways, which are like not, but like whatever. I don't. Commissioner Monique Ray.
Echoing what Aaron said, yeah, I think we could rename it something broader. I mean, if we wanted to make economics part of that, I know some people express sentiments against economics, but I mean, if we can think of something larger, I think there was planning in social infrastructure, or I don't know. We can think about it later, but yeah, I think other than that, the rest of them seem fine to me.
Do we want to vote on these now, or would we like to think about this, let it marinate, and then just vote on them at the next meeting?
I would say the next meeting.
Next meeting. Is there anyone who wants to vote on it now? Anyone who agrees with Monique?
I agree with Monique. I just think that if we happen to come up with some more subcommittees, I know we don't want to go too far and have a bunch of subcommittees, but yeah, just to give some people time to come up with some more ideas. But I think we're at a really good place right now. I feel like, I don't want to speak for everyone, of course, but the committees that we have right now are pretty solid.
And then Commissioner Huel, your hand was up. Do you have?
I also agree with that.
Okay. Ashley, do you have like a list of or Tamiko of like what was said, or like we can send you like our committee ideas and then we could just put them on the agenda for next meeting?
Yes, we have them written down and this meeting is recorded, so we will reference as needed.
Okay, that's, sorry, I know that. I'm just okay. So that is settled. So we will move on to the next, unless anyone has anything else to say about subcommittees. I should ask that first.
Did you want to appoint a mission statement subcommittee tonight to get, or not?
Oh, yeah, we
The
probably
ad hoc committee idea, just to kind of help us get that ready for the next agenda.
I will volunteer for that. Would anyone like to join me? We probably only have to meet once, maybe twice before the next meeting.
I'll join, Ethan.
I'm gonna write names down.
I'd also like to join the ad hoc committee or that specific subcommittee.
Ethan, I'd also like to join.
Okay, so Monique, Dekai, Melissa. And if anyone else wants to join, just let me know. Does that sound good?
If possible, could I?
Yeah, no, yeah, of course.
Thank you.
And Sophia, no, yeah, of course. Okay, so we will coordinate like a meeting. Well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. Okay, yeah, so we'll just coordinate a meeting between now and the meeting in December. All right, so moving on to the next agenda item, which is Roman numeral 9, public comment, I assume for things that aren't on the agenda. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on items not on the agenda? You may raise your hand if you wish to comment, or put it in the chat if you, for whatever reason, don't want to say it verbally. Okay, no hands are raised, so I'm assuming no one wants to comment. So Roman numeral number 10 is items from the commission. So is this just like we're talking about things we want to talk about, or like things that like, or talk about whatever, or what? Sorry.
If I may, so typically if there's items that you want to share, like for example, something happening at one of the schools, or something that you want to consider for an agenda item, but it should be relevant to the business of the commission. But just items that you think are relevant to share with the whole group. Informational. Yeah.
Does anyone have anything they want to talk about? Or I know, Monique, you wanted to put something on the agenda for a future meeting. I don't know if you actually said what it, oh, so was it social media? Sorry, or no, that was something else.
Oh, I didn't say it, so that's probably why. I was gonna say that like for the next meeting, we go over that website of the youth commission, and then we kind of like figure out what we want on it, what we want taken off. That's one thing, and then the other thing is, I was gonna suggest. Ooh, actually, never mind. I was gonna suggest the women of color start creating an ad hoc subcommittee just to get started right away. But we can talk about that when we handle all the subcommittee stuff.
Like if you want to organize that subcommittee now, that's totally fine. And then for the website thing, I would say like yes, but like also I'd like Ashley to do everything she wants to do with it first, and just so like we're not like pressuring her first, and then like we'll just look at it once she's done with it. But I do think like going over it would be nice, especially since I think some people may have not been able to put their like bios in, and maybe somebody wants to change their picture. And also, this is kind of a segue, but I know, Nika, I've been like totally pestering you, but like, if you still want to make a, or I actually asked you last time and you said you were like working on it, but the artwork, because we do have to like update that, but like also no pressure on you since I know you're in high school and art is hard. Is Nika here? I don't see, wait. Oh no, Nika's not even here. Oh, boo. Okay.
On the website thing, you guys are more than welcome to send me feedback for the website. I do need to go through it and like weed out everything from the past yak. But yeah, and some of you did send me bios, updated bios or pictures, and you're more than welcome to do that. I need to do that, but it's on my to-do list.
Thank you, Ashley. And then thank you, Jen, for letting Mika know. Vice Chair Adriano, your hand is up.
Yeah, I don't know if this is an action item, but I think we should consider like, I don't know, maybe just advertising to our local high schools that we are now a commission and we are accepting public comments. Because I don't know, I feel like we should let the youth of South City know that they can public comment on issues that they're passionate about, and then they could do it through here.
I think that's a great idea. Sam, I don't want to ask you to do that for South City, but like if anyone from South City can like put something in the announcements saying like the South City Youth Commission meets the first Monday of the month at 6 p.m. and go to the website for the Zoom link. And then if somebody from El Camino could do that, I think that would be a great idea to like elicit more civic participation.
Yeah, I could do that for South City. Our next meeting is December 6th, right?
Yeah, if that's the first Monday, yes.
Okay, yeah. I could also do that. And then also at least for speaking on South City's behalf, if we post on our Instagram, like, oh, we have a youth commission meeting tonight, like if we make an infographic, I could post it on the South City Instagram story.
I think that's a great idea. More social media more social media outreach is good. And then also Trustee Murray says, congrats all. You did an amazing job. I look forward to seeing you at our meetings. I think she means school board meetings.
If I could, Ethan, you know, we should really have a press release about the creation of the Youth Commission, which I don't think we've done a press release. Did the city send out one? But just prepares something like a press release, and Trustee Murray said she would get it out through her channels through the school district and make sure that high school students and middle school students get it. So that is a really great idea. That is the whole purpose of the commission, is to be a conduit. So we got to let the folks know that the conduit's there. So we can work on that. We, the staff, the press release, and something that could be released to the schools for distribution to the high school and the middle school principals. I think that's a really great idea.
No, yeah, that's a great idea. Those emails, whenever I get them, I'm like, Marie Patea emailing me about like some road closure. And I'm like, wait, is this, but I always get confused on what's the like actual emails and what's just the big city emails. But no, I think that would be a great idea. And if we can get like a flyer or something, I know the high schools at least have like a little like news box thing to put physical things. I'm sure the middle schools have some equivalent. But if there was like a flyer that we could print, that would be great too. If there are no other items, I have one actually. I might have two. There's like just saying like asking if there's like any like if anyone wants this to be on the next agenda. There's an organization called Seamless Bay Area, and they're looking, and their goal is to make transit in the Bay Area better, and they do presentations to like a lot of different cities, and they've done one to the San Francisco Youth Commission and to a bunch of cities, and they have asked us, they asked the YAC actually when I was on the YAC, but like we're not the YAC anymore, to like do a presentation for us. If we're interested, would we like them to come to the next meeting to talk to us about transit?
Oh shoot, I forgot to raise my hand, my bad. But yes, I agree. I think they should come, because I really enjoyed it when you invited, was it Sam Trans?
Yes.
Yeah, it was super informative and I just really enjoyed it. So I would love to have them present to us.
Okay. And then part of the presentation, they've asked a lot of cities, and they actually have a number of cities supporting them in San Mateo County and the Bay, but like they would probably ask us if we support them, but like we could just say like ask the city council to support them. But like that's more, I will have to ask Sharon about that later, but they could just present to us. And also about Samtrans, I think they're wrapping up Seamless, and I think it might actually be, or not Seamless, Reimagine, and I think it might actually be finished before our next meeting. But if it's not, I think it would be cool if we can get them, but I know they're super busy because they've been going to every city council meeting for all the cities lately, but I think they're done. But I would also like another Samtrans presentation because those are always very insightful. Tamiko, your hand is raised.
Thank you. So yes, you are correct. They have been presenting. We had talked about it internally, and perhaps the Youth Commission can watch the recording or the presentation that was given by City Council. They still are taking comments and survey feedbacks on their website. So that is something that I'm going to offer for the Youth Commission to think about.
Thank you. Commissioner Hua?
Oh, just a quick question. When you say reimagine, is that the Plan Bay Area 2050? Like the goal?
Plan Bay Area 2050 is the big MTC A-bag thing. Reimagine Samtrans is just Samtrans internally, like this is where the bus line will be and like how frequent the buses are. It's just like a reimagining of their bus network, but the Plan Bay Area 2050 is just the bigger like macro thing between all the transit agencies and county TAs. It would be cool to get them to come, but I don't.
Yeah. I also have.
Oh, you had an internship.
I worked for, and I like, yeah, if you want, I can like look into that too. And like the MTC.
Like if they can, and if you want to ask, I don't want to make you ask anybody.
Just let me know and then we can talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk about it offline. Shamiko, is your hand still up? Sorry. Oh, never mind. Okay. Are there any other Commissioner Lee?
I was wondering, this is kind of like a previous like topic, if that's okay if I bring it up. But just like what reminded me, just like of what like Aaron said about like, I guess, like sending out like a memo or something to like all the schools that like, you know, public comments are like going out. I was wondering if we wanted like an ad hoc committees for like each of the high schools, or at least the schools that like we represent as a body. So like all the El Camino students, all the South City students. I don't know if we want to do alumni too, but definitely like the ones who are the students who are like active right now, like in there. If like we would want to do that as like kind of like representatives like to the school, just because, you know, we want to be where like the schools are at, because like we're only a representative body. We're not like, yeah. So
I think that's I think that's a really good idea, especially since we have like ASB officers here and we have like club officers here. That would be really good to know what's exactly going on, and if we could collaborate in any way, or if we can like have them speak here, or if they could plug us there in their meetings. But like I think that's a great idea. Did you still have something? Sorry, your hand is still up.
Actually I'll put it down, but maybe we could put it for like the civic engagement subcommittee.
Okay, no, yeah, that fits. So that's a really good idea. Commissioner Avila Gomez.
As we're talking about advertising to the high schools, I think all of us sometimes, well, I'm even guilty of doing it, but we also have to remember that we have a third high school, Bay and High School, and like they're disproportionately affected by a lot of things. And let's just make sure that we advertise to them and let them know that they can come and public comment here.
No, yeah, I think that's a really good point. I know they don't have an organized ASB, but I can reach out to, or to whoever staff can reach out, or somebody can reach out to one of the school board members or Dr. Moore to like get the contact info of their administration, so we can figure out how we would go about disseminating that information. But that's a very good point.
I think all the information for admin of all SSF USD schools are posted on their individual websites.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I'm
pretty sure.
Okay, we can look that up.
Okay.
You're probably right, actually, now that I think about it. Like, why wouldn't the principal's email be on the website?
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, that was all I had. Thank you.
That's a good point.
I would just say, since we had the offer from trustee Murray, that will go a long way to increase, if something comes down from the school board, principals I'm very receptive. So we may take her up on that offer. I think that'd be great. That'd be awesome to help just disseminate it to the relevant schools on your behalf.
Secretary Jimenez, your hand was raised.
I was just gonna say that I could have contacted the principal, but what Sharon said.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, thank you. Are there any other items or like anything anyone wants to say before we move on? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to agenda item Roman numeral 11, items from staff.
I don't think Tamiko and I really have anything. We will, however, in the next meeting, bring up the new COVID-19 vaccine policy. I need to look into it a little bit more, but I know right now we are virtual. However, next year, I'm sure we will start meeting in person. I'm not sure if that's going to be like in the beginning of the year or when. I don't know, Sharon, if there's more information on that. I don't know if we know when, but do you know like a brief understanding of the social or of the vaccine policy or COVID
Right.
testing or?
As far as I know, we're definitely virtual through the end of the year. And we're waiting on the city clerk to let us know if we beyond that. So she's watching the legislative activity on when we have to go back in person. So I don't have an answer for you there, but we will definitely let you know. And then with respect to the vaccination policy, my understanding is that we'll require that when we're back in person, that folks are either vaccinated or have a negative test result. So it's not it's not required that you be vaccinated, but you will have to bring in on a weekly basis a negative test result in order to attend an in-person meeting. So we'll give you more information on that next month.
Thank you. And then this is kind of tangentially related. I know there are 2 sitting city council members here, but if there's a way, and we can talk about it this next meeting to like, and I'm sure the council is going to talk about it, but since some of our commissioners are studying outside of South City, but are still on the commission, if any way that they could be allowed to be remote, that would probably be very convenient for them, but that may be something that can be discussed like with staff internally. I'm not sure.
I honestly don't have an answer for you on that. We will get back to you on it's a legislative matter if out of town commissioners can continue to Zoom in after we go back to regular meetings. Sometimes it's just a technological difficulty, like running these meetings as a combination Zoom and in person we can manage it for the planning commission and for city council, but there's so many boards and commissions that the hybrid meetings for all of those, it requires it's logistically difficult. So let us get back to you on that one.
Thank you. Is there anything else from staff? No, okay. And then I would like it noted, because some commissioners came in late due to like Wi-Fi and other reasons. So like, I don't know if there's a way if they could be tardy or like included as present. Okay, Sharon's nodding, so.
Yeah, we just keep note of whoever's like after 5-10 minutes late. But we are checking the participants list as you guys enter.
Okay. And then that was the last item on the agenda. So I will move to, unless anyone wants to say anything else in the official meeting. Seeing none, I will adjourn the meeting. I will adjourn the first meeting of the Youth Commission at 8:33 p.m. on November 1st. Yeah, good job, everybody. We did it. I was texting with Danielle about like fun fact ideas, and they said song of the day, and I want to hear like before. I know Ashley like has to go home because Ashley is still at City Hall because she's amazing and like great. But like my current song of the day is the soundtrack to The French Dispatch because I just watched it today and it's been like stuck in my head and it's a good movie.
Do you want me to go down the list?
I don't think everyone has like a thing they're listening to specifically. Aaron is laughing at me, which makes me sad. That's so unbecoming of a commissioner. I was kidding, Aaron. That was a joke. But like, if anyone has a thing they're listening to, Danielle, you came up with the idea. Like, if you want to, and you can also leave if you don't want to be here, since the meeting is adjourned.
I'll just say my song of the day was "Money" by Pink Floyd from The Dark Side of the Moon. Also, how was The French Dispatch? Was it a good movie?
I thought it was delightful, but I'm like a big Wes Anderson fan, so like I'm very biased. Good night, Sophia.
All right, I'm gonna head out as well, guys. I just want to say thank you, everyone. It was a super productive meeting. Special shout out to Ashley and Tamiko. You guys are great for helping us coordinate this and for sticking along. Thank you, Sharon, as well. Everyone else, thank you. Bye, guys.
Good night, Takai.
Good night, everyone. Before I go, my song of the day was "Ribs" by Lorde. I know it's like her most popular song, but it was giving today. Good night.
Good night.